Hi, I'm Ray Lampe, Dr. Barbecue for Big Green Egg. Today's recipe is for a barbecued brisket flat. Everybody wants to cook a brisket, but it's a tough thing to cook. And I'm going to give you a bit of a shortcut, kind of an easy way to get started with a brisket. Great big 15-pound whole brisket has two muscles. It's a lot of thing to cook. It's not that easy. A lot of guys make the mistake of trying that and it doesn't work out so well. A brisket flat is a good way to go. A little easier to find too. This is a brisket flat, USDA choice. I like that. If you want to buy a fancy prime one, go ahead. Not necessary in my opinion. See this grain? This is what a brisket's all about. It's got that grain that's so tough. This is a tough piece of meat. This side here's got fat cap, and over here used to be the point, that other muscle I was talking about. But this is the pretty part and a really nice part for sandwiches. I like cooking just a flat. This is about a 9-pounder. That's a big one. Don't be afraid of doing that. If you buy a little thing like a 3-pound piece of brisket, that's not a brisket, and that's why it gets all dried up. All I'm going to do is trim anything that looks like it doesn't belong on here. Don't get carried away trying to trim this down. We like to have some fat on there. That's a little bit of skin that probably wasn't going to cook and probably going to be a little bit tough. The grain is going this way. This is an old brisket cooking trick. You can make a little cut right here and discard that. You can throw that on the grill, but it'll be tough when you go to eat it. But now when it comes time to slice this brisket and it's all brown and crusty, I'll be able to see right where I should start cutting, right along that flat side. On this side here, I'm not doing a darn thing. All that fat cap on there is a good thing. I like that. It came out of the package just like that. All I'm going to do is put some barbecue rub on it. Now, if you buy a big 15-pound whole brisket, you're going to have to do some trimming. So this is easier already. And all I'm going to do is put barbecue rub on here. On the fat side, I'm not going to put much. It's probably not going to work its way in there anyway, but it make it look nice. And hopefully some of that fat will render into the meat as it goes too. But on this side, I'm going to put a lot of barbecue rub. This is a big, heavy, strong flavored piece of meat, and it needs some seasoning. Regular old barbecue rub's got some salt, sugar in it, chili powder, onion, garlic powder. There's a lot of good ones out there. There's a lot of recipes out there. Put a good heavy coat of this. Now, I've got my egg set up to cook about 250 indirect with the plate setter, with the legs pointing up. Great replace. This is ready to go. I'm going to put my brisket on fat side down. I'm going to put the big part towards the back, just like that. Try to get as much coverage over the plate setter as I can. And I'm going to cook this for about 3 to 4 hours at 250. I've added a bunch of wood in there too. There's pecan wood in there. Just because you don't see it making a bunch of smoke doesn't mean it's not flavoring the meat. I'm going to give this about 3 or 4 hours, and I'm going to take a look at it. I might flip it over then, but for the start, fat side down. It's been about 6 hours now. After 4 hours, I flipped my brisket over to fat side up. My temp stayed around 250 up to 275. A little bump like that doesn't bother me at all. Had some nice wood smoke in there. See, I got the fat on top. You see the caramelization and all that's occurred here now. It's looking great. It's not done yet, though. It's really not tender. It looks good. Temperature-wise, it should be around 165, 170 right now, but it's really not that critical because we're going to cook it now in the foil. This is how I'm going to get it tender. So I'm not that worried about doneness or tenderness yet right now. I'm going to wrap it up in foil. This is a big double thick sheet of heavy duty aluminum foil. Get it all scooched up around her. Now you see how I flipped it back over. I'm going to put some liquid in here, and I don't want this beautiful crust laying down in the liquid. So I put it fat side down now. Get my foil all up around it. This is coffee, straight out of the coffee pot. I was drinking it a little while ago. I'm going to put about a half a cup of this. Just drizzle it over the top. It really makes for an interesting flavor. You won't get too much flavor out of it. Okay, I went about 2/3 of a cup. That'd be just fine for this one. You won't taste big coffee flavor. With that strong beef flavor, coffee goes real well. And it's nice to add a little liquid because now this brisket's going to get tender. So wrap it up good. Keep all the coffee in there. Be careful not to puncture it. And now I'm going to put it back on, same way, 250 with plate setter where it was. And now I'm going to start thinking about when it's going to be done. It's going to take probably 2 hours to go from here to done, but it's going to be just about 200 degrees internal temperature. We'll come back in an hour and a half or so and check it. It's been about another 2 hours now. My brisket's about 201. That's perfect. Been about 8 hours total for this 9-pound brisket flat. Be careful when you're doing this now because you got all that hot coffee in there and the hot brisket. Brisket's going to be tender and kind of trying to fall apart on you. Oh, that looks beautiful. You see all the coffee and beef jus down in there? If you like, go ahead and strain that out and add a little beef stock to it and make a jus. I don't think it needs it. I think it's perfect just like this. See that spot right there? You can see that cut that I made, so I knew where to slice it. The grain is all going this way. This one's pretty easy. I can see it pretty good. Not always like that, though. Some days it's better than others. So you let this rest for a little while, and now it's time to slice it. So make sure you're slicing against the grain, nice easy strokes. Look at that, isn't that beautiful? That smoke ring on there, you can see how juicy that is. The contest world, we talk about slicing it about the thickness of a pencil, a regular old number 2 pencil. I like that, it's a pretty good idea. If your brisket's a little tough that day, slice it a little thinner. And some days it's a little too tender, then you gotta slice it a little thicker. Worst case, chop it, doesn't matter. It'll all still eat the same way. That looks just great to me. Don't slice this too far ahead now. When they're ready to eat, that's when you want to get on it, because it will get dry. It's brisket. I leave that fat on there. The guests can trim it off if they want. For me, a little layer of fat on there is just fine. You see, I'm slicing it with the fat up. That's a beautiful slice of brisket right there. Smoke ring, nice and tender and juicy. Traditional accompaniments, raw onion, nice piece of crusty bread, fresh jalapenos. I don't need anything else. If you want to put barbecue sauce on this, I feel sorry for you because it's not going to taste as good with it. Better off without it. I'm Ray Lampe, Dr. Barbecue for the Big Green Egg. You'll find this recipe and a lot of others at biggreenegg.com.